From the pit lane to the podcast, this is Bromula One, and we're excited to be back. I am Ryan,
I am Caleb.
And I'm Steven.
and thank you for being here. We are here ahead of the 2023 Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka circuit, one of my favorites of the calendar. Are you boys ready to get back into it?
Woot woot! I've been
Woo-hoo,
watching a lot
absolutely.
of anime to get into the Japanese spirit.
I've been eating lots of ramen.
There you go.
I'm gonna play Mario Kart and just pick Yoshi only.
I think with Mario Kart, any of those characters technically count as getting into the spirit, right? Because it's
That's true.
Nintendo.
Well, they're Italian plumbers, so are they Ferrari fans?
Ooh.
Mario and Luigi?
Science
Those guys
P1.
Dude, signs, back-to-back polls, got a victory. What's gonna happen this week, boys? Have you been thinking much about Brodictions?
He is on a high right now. I see him getting a hat trick. I just see him with so much momentum, and this is going to be a good track for Ferrari. They had pole position last year. I think they've got Sainz is going to give it to him.
Dang. So already right off the bat, Signs sweeping the weekend.
He's my Brol position at least. We'll see about how he ends up in the race. You know, it's going to be a little bit easier to overtake. But boy, he's got some momentum. He fears no one on Saturdays.
Nope. Wow.
Okay,
that's
so
cool.
we start now with Brol position, a three-peat for Carlos.
Yeah, I just got so excited. I just couldn't hold it in anymore. You know? Also, you guys beat me to the Carlos predictions last time, so I was gonna put my stamp of approval on it first.
I know, dude. We all got to make our claims before the others do. Wow, that's a good, the vibes are totally with Carlos right now, and this is partially a vibey sport. You know what I mean? Max had the vibes, and now Carlos has them.
What about you, Caleb? What have you thought about Brol position yet?
It was I've had to change mine. This is like almost an unwritten rule that we've written for ourselves that we can't have the same predictions. I've gone with Charles, the other Ferrari driver.
Oh, okay.
Luigi.
Yeah, Luigi, he's got that L on his hat, and I think he's looking to take it off.
Oh,
Turn that into a W. Charles,
Luigi.
Brol position. He has been uncharacteristically mediocre, for lack of a better term. And
they could have definitely helped him out a little bit more in terms of strategy. They really left him, especially in our most recent race. They totally sacrificed him. So I'm excited to see if they're on level playing field, what he can do with the car.
Mm-hmm. And Sainz has been, taking it to him in terms of qualifying. That's where it really just comes down to driver merit. So I'm looking for a Charles bounce back week. His strength is usually qualifying, and I think we're going to see that. Let's go, Charles. Ryan?
I'm going to step out on a limb here, Caleb, and name your favorite driver as the Brol sitter.
Yes.
Lando Norris, baby. He's gonna get
I didn't want to do
P1.
it 2 weeks in a row. I was going to, but I got to be somewhat reserved. Explain your reasoning. Which limb did you go out on? Was it your arm? I'm just kidding.
Well, Lando's been crushing it lately. That McLaren has updates on it. I think he's probably riding a high from Singapore, and I think this track will suit the McLaren well. I think Piastri's going to have a good showing too. Red Bull, of course, is going to be in it. So it's honestly a toss-up for me between Max and Lando, but I'm going Lando.
I love to hear that, Ryan. Thank you for joining the fandom community of the Lando Norris fans. I don't know what we call ourselves. We call ourselves a Papaya Army for McLaren, but Landonians, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Lando, yeah, Calrissian. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's got
Norrissians.
Norrissians.
Lando
Norrissians. I like it.
Norrissians. That's what I'm talking about. Cool. I love that, man. This is Lando's, I think, favorite track. He always talks about Suzuka in Japan, and so usually a driver picks their favorite track because they're good, right? They're good on the track. So
I got a good feel with it.
Yeah, talking about Oscar though, he got that extension to 2026.
Yeah, that's a
Whoa.
pretty fat extension for a rookie. That just shows how well he's performing. He's very
Steven,
consistent.
share your true feelings about how you feel about Oscar.
I'm gonna gush a little bit. I'm gonna take you back. No, I'm just kidding. I just really enjoy. He steps into the sport this year, lays claim in a very uncharacteristic way. Over the Twitter, announcing he's not gonna be driving for Alpine. And then if you look at how that car is this year, you can't blame him. He definitely made the right choice by blocking that and then going to McLaren. But he has definitely backed it up. We kind of looked at this, circled it, with permanent marker saying, how is this kid going to perform after this big charade to get into where he's at? But he's backed it up and then some, right? I think he's chipping on the heels of Norris.
He is.
Gonna
He
catch
really
him
is.
before you know it.
Oh yeah, he might, man. He's really showing that potential. Yeah, good for him. He deserved it. He earned it. Best rookie of the season of the year.
Absolutely.
So far, look at Liam Lawson, though.
You're right, dude. Even though
Dude, shorter sample size, but
Mhm.
Hey, but speaking of Lawson, he's been racing in what is it, the Japanese open wheel series, and so he's been racing in Suzuka a lot. He knows the track well, and I think he's going to do well this weekend. Maybe
I
back some
expect him
points
in the-
back to back.
Lawson podium.
Ooh.
Just kidding. That's whoa.
Well, we're going right into the Brodiums, huh?
Yeah, let's go.
Brodium.
Okay, so Ryan, you got last pick on the Brodium. You get first now. Or
Okay.
last pick on the Brol, my bad.
I understood what you're saying, Caleb. I'm with you. For my Brodium, Max is going to have a comeback. Hate to say it, but I think Red Bull's going to be strong this weekend. I know. I think we're going to see another McLaren on the podium. So I'm going to go Lando, P2. He likes that P2 position.
3 times.
And Hamilton's going to have a strong showing, P3. That's my Brodiction.
I have no qualms with that top 3. It's very
So that was, you said Max. Who were your other two?
Max, Norris, Hamilton.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's good. No Ferraris, huh? You think they're gonna have like a big old slump?
No, I don't think they're going to have a slump. I just don't think they're going to be challenging for the podium.
They do have a floor update, and I heard that it's their final update of 2023 that they're bringing to Suzuka. So, updates can sometimes set you back. They can sometimes spring you forward. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be proven wrong. So, Forza
Yeah.
Ferrari.
Caleb, you go next.
Yeah, I got Science P1. Just kidding. I have to change it now that you
Oh.
stole my Brol.
No, you're locked in.
Nope,
Oh.
no.
He said-
Whoa!
He said P1.
He did.
I also said Lawson podium. So am I locked in there?
Yep. Yes, he's got to be at least third. You got
All
one
right,
spot
dude.
left.
All of the listeners are going to be like, who is this Caleb guy and why is he talking? I got Charles P1. I also got Norris P2. I really want him P1, but that McLaren and yeah, it's a good car. Did you see how many updates they brought to Singapore? There was like 10 items on the list. They brought a new car.
Yeah,
looks like
it's a C-spec car at this point.
Yeah.
Just change all the parts.
Yeah. And then I have George Russell surviving a Russell tussle in Suzuka to claim P3.
Now that is bold, Caleb. So you're
Like,
forecasting Russell for a podium.
I am forecasting Russell for a podium. That's
You
bold.
think
He
it's two races in a row that he's not gonna no podium with Max Verstappen, huh?
I'm going for some like a bit of a redemption arc with my predictions this week. I got Charles redeeming himself and George redeeming himself. And then Norris just doing, P2 like he always does. So that's me.
All right, I'm gonna go with P1 Max. He's definitely coming back. This is his redemption tour. I think we're all on notice here.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna really show what we all remember for the first frickin' 14 races of the season. P2, Lando Norris. I think they're gonna win on strategy. I think he's gonna have a really good qualifying. And then round out the podium, P3, Carlos Sainz. I think he's just not gonna have the car under him, but he's gonna hold on for a podium.
Dang, all of us. Norris P2.
And I want to touch on one thing real quick. You said this is kind of like a redemption tour, and that's kind of why I have Sainz up so high. Last year in the wet start of Suzuka, he spun out, crashed out, ruined his race. So if he could just bring it home, that's already redemption.
So we're both having redemption arcs as our predictions. So let's go unredemption now. Weekend wanker. People who are not going to have a good race or continue their poor performance. Steven, who's your wanker?
My wanker is Alex Albon.
Oh, no.
I think he's due for one. Max had a stinker last week. I think other drivers who have been less skilled have had more screw ups. It's his turn. And I think just being a wanker for Alex Albon might be losing qualifying by a tenth to Sargent,
That would be his first qualifying loss to Sargent all year.
Yeah, which would make him a big wanker because nobody's lost to Sargent. Let's be honest.
Poor guy. That's
Poor
just,
Logie Sarge.
yeah. We will not have American blood in the driver's veins for long.
Yeah,
in
it's not
F1.
We're used to driving in circles.
Yeah. Left
What if
turns
he gets
only.
a podium? What if he gets a podium at Coda this year,
Wow. Yeah.
or just
What
a
if?
point? Mix it into Q3. Let's temper our expectations a little bit.
He already had his home race in Miami because he's a Floridian. And but still, yeah, he's got 2 American races this year left on the calendar to try and get a point. See if he can do it.
Let's see if he can, because Alex Albon has sure shown that car can get some points, and Logan makes it seem like it's the most difficult car to drive on the grid, and so interesting. Well, I'm still deciding on my wanker, man. Nothing's came to me yet. I haven't had any revelation as to who's going to be the wanker for the weekend. So Ryan, do you have a wanker in mind?
Sure do. And his name is Lance Stroll.
Oh, come on, man.
That is the wanker that is always on your mind, Ryan. Let's be totally honest.
You
I
do
don't have
seem to talk
wankers on the
about
mind
Lance a
all
lot.
the time. Yeah, maybe I've been a little hard on the boy, but I think he's experiencing the death spirals of his career, and that was a pretty big shunt he had last time out. He missed the race. Is that because of they couldn't get the car back together, or because
I
he
think it
was injured?
medical stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he is. I completely agree with you, Ryan. He is like having a wake up call, a reality check right now. You still want to keep doing this after this big crash? He was still injured, right, from the previous crash? Or no, it was an off-season injury, right?
Right. He came into the season with, what was it, 2 broken wrists and a broken toe. Amazing that he could even jump back into the car at such an early point in his recovery. So I just, having been whooped by Fernando so badly in a car that was very competitive in the beginning of the season, he should have been up there more often. I think he's just on the out. And I think Big Daddy Stroll knows that. And Daddy Stroll, as we know, he's a fan of the podcast. So I'm sure he agrees.
Thanks, Lawrence.
He actually gives us some of these talking points.
Yeah. So Ryan, at the end, is all that being said, you're still a wanker, Lance, right?
So we got to talk about this though. What counts as Lance being a wanker? Because he was P20 in Monza, and then he didn't even make it to the race in Singapore. I mean, I'm glad he's okay. You never want to see a driver crash.
Of course.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that lightly, but
well, you did say continued poor performance or a drop in
Mhm.
performance. So I think it's a very safe bet. So sue me.
Is this Lance's peak though? I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
Or his rock bottom, and now he's going to skyrocket and shine.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Anytime you get out qualified by like a half second or more in qualifying, that's got to be right there grounds for wankerism, right?
Yep.
Solid.
Anytime you crash in a race, especially when you have like a fast car, or you can't get by someone who's 2 or 3 places slower than you, presumably.
That brings up my weekend wanker, though. Lewis Hamilton has been outqualified by George by several tenths of a second the past 2 race weekends. And we haven't really noticed it or paid much attention to it because Lewis has had some strong race recoveries and George has had a poor performance in Zandvoort and in this last weekend, Singapore. So I guess it's been 3 weeks in a row that George is out. He's out qualified Lewis since the summer break. And I think that is going to be highlighted even more this weekend, that George is going to out qualify Lewis, and Lewis won't have that great of a recovery drive, and it'll show a little bit of a wankerism.
How dare you, Caleb?
I'm so sorry.
I backed up Lando Norris, and now you're pooping on my boy Sir Lewis Hamilton.
The treaty is over, Ryan. McLaren.
You guys remember when, I think it was last year, when Sainz was complaining about Perez passing him too quickly, and he said he's intimidating me. Do you think part of Russell's crash last week was Hamilton coming up the ass of him? I mean, he was closing it, and he was saying, "Come on, Russell, let's go. We gotta get going."
Let's change the phrase there.
He
was on his
phrasing,
buns.
my bad.
Yeah, Max Verstappen was a little further back. So it could have been-
Yeah.
It's Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was
boy.
intimidated, man.
Hey, that's the wanker moment for the last week for sure.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys see the clip? It was a funny little joke, real quick, talking about George's crash. You know that little clip of is it Ayrton Senna who says it? If you stop going for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver.
Right.
Well, when George crashed, his car hit perfectly the GAP in Singapore, the gap.
Nice.
He hit the gap.
He made it.
So George is still a quality race driver, guys.
Yeah, he went
He's
for the gap.
forecast for a podium.
That he is. Well, did you guys see that? I was looking at the race results from last year. Max Verstappen won by 27 seconds over his teammate Checo Perez.
Woo.
Yeah, that's a gap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
quite the gap. We had a wet start to that race, right? That was like because Charles was on pole.
Mm-hmm. Sainz spun out, I think, because of that as well. Yep.
Passed him on the outside. Turn
I
one.
did check the forecast, and it is sunny on Saturday and Sunday. So it should be a bright and sunny day. No rain.
There are a couple things to look forward to in terms of championship implications. While I do not think it's possible for Max to lock it up, the Drivers' Championship at Suzuka, I think he's got to wait till Qatar at the earliest. I do think the Red Bull Constructors' Championship is locked up almost certainly. I think it's like as long as they outscore Mercedes by 2 points. What? 1 point?
By 1 point. They have to outscore
Wow.
them by 1 point.
And then I think Ferrari is like 24 points or something like that.
Mhm.
AKA, if Max wins the race, it doesn't matter what they do.
They're just so far ahead as the constructors. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about dominant cars and whatnot. This one's pretty close to number 2, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, cool. Any final notes before we end the episode?
I love 130R. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet turn. Kind of a
Explain.
curve, right?
I don't even know the name of all the turns. I'm not as familiar as you are, Ryan. You know, like a lot of the turns on the tracks. Explain to our listeners 130R, so when they watch the race.
I advise them to look at a map of the circuit, but it's one of the last turns of the track before you get to the final chicane, right before they call it the bus stop chicane, or is that no? That's Spa. I get them all mixed up. But
Mhm.
130R is a high speed, flat out turn. You can hear the engine revs dip due to the gravitational forces of that corner. It's ridiculous. It's awesome. Sets up for some potential good passing into that last chicane. And no DRS down that straight, though. Just one DRS zone down the front straight. Kind of a bummer, but
Yeah, there's that weird bridge at the very end of that straight, right? That they kind of have to slow down for, as far as I'm aware. Because I think the track goes over itself at that point.
Yeah, there's like a tunnel.
yeah, 130R goes over it, I believe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's why you don't have DRS there. You're just going too fast.
Yeah.
This isn't a space race. This is, we're not trying to launch these cars.
Or are we?
If Elon
That's all
Musk
I
ever
got,
joins.
boys.
Cool. Yeah, me too.
Well, that's good. I think we should take a quick second as we close up to thank all of our listeners. We got some participation in our last predictions episode. So for all 3 of us, we appreciate everyone tuning in and also participating. So give us your thoughts on Suzuka coming up, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
The bros are out.
Thanks, everyone.